2 stripes, 4 stars on a white background. A design that could be potentially overly simple comes together in perfect harmony as the Chicago flag. What may surprise you is that it's actually not Chicago's first flag. Why is it that when you go to other US cities, you're really not gonna see the flag outside of government buildings, but once you come to Chicago, you see it everywhere? So let's rewind back to the fall of 1892, when there was no Chicago flag. And in fact, US city flags weren't really a thing. The organizers for the World's Fair of 1893 held a meeting, and artist F.D. Millet was one of the attendees. He suggested that in preparation for the fair, Chicago should adopt municipal colors. He was inspired by the great cities in Europe that not only had municipal colors, but also flags that they flew proudly all over their cities. In response, Chicago Tribune held a contest in which they asked people to submit their ideas for municipal colors for the city. The winning entry was submitted by architect Alfred Rawad, who was coincidentally enough also working on the World's Fair. His submitted colors of terracotta and white perfectly represented the city of Chicago. Terracotta, of course, being a shade of red, and white playing off the colors of the American flag, and terracotta also being a very popular architectural building material. His design also included the symbolic Y, which you can find hidden in plain sight all over Chicago. It represents the 3 branches of the Chicago River, which split the city into its 3 sides, north, west, and south. As good as that design was, it wouldn't last forever. And in 1917, author Wallace Rice, a newspaperman for the Chicago Tribune, submitted his design for the Chicago flag that we all know and love today. Well, sort of. Rice's original design for the flag only contained 2 stars. The other 2 were added a little bit later, in 1933 and in 1939. Funny enough, this design was also a contest entry, this time held by the City Council. But let's talk about what those symbols mean. There are 2 sky blue stripes on the flag, both representing water. The top one represents the North Branch of the Chicago River and Lake Michigan, while the bottom one represents the South Branch and the Great Canal. The 3 sections of white on the flag represent the north, west, south sides of the city, respectively. And the 4 stars represent Fort Dearborn, the Great Fire of 1871, the World's Fair of 1893, and the Century of Progress Fair in 1933. Even the 6 points of each star represent something. I'm not gonna go through them all, but here are some of my favorites: health, education, city in a garden, and Illinois statehood 1818. So what about the future of the Chicago flag? Well, as perfect as the design is, there has been talk over the past several years of adding a 5th star. Personally, I really hope that they don't do that. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And why is the Chicago flag so popular? Why do you see it everywhere in the city? Well, I think just like a lot of other things, Chicago was a pioneer in this, in having a flag, being a US city. I also think the design is simple yet elegant, nondescript but classic and memorable, and symbolic without being divisive or judgmental. Go ahead and finesse that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel.